Hello, Roger from MiWayJourneys. Here we're going to do some planning for Hadrian's Wall Path, something I've had on my bucket list for a while, and I really was looking forward to one, doing the research, and two, actually doing the hike. I am a trekker, so I do like to get out and walk whenever I have the opportunity, and so this was my planning that I went for here. Disclaimer, any of the products and services, I'm not being paid for any of them, but they are tools that I use and then they've been reliable for me. I found them to be true over time and I've used many of these for years over and over again. Please, use them at your discretion but I'm not being compensated in any way for these. So, as I've talked about, building on an idea, you have to figure out where you want to go and then what do you want to see when you're out there doing it. And then sometimes, it's free travel by yourself. And sometimes it's nice to have somebody just kind of, they know where to go and where to stay and things like that. And that's where tour operators can be helpful. So on this trip, I was looking for something where I was going to be able to walk on my own and but have some guidance and get me from point A to point B. And that was something that I looked for as I was doing the research for this particular trip. So so let's start that adventure. Get out there and plan that travel. So as I said, I was going to do the Hadrian Wall path. So that is 84 miles from coast to coast in England. And some of the resources that I use were my standard things of looking at TripAdvisor and looking at YouTubes of people that have done it in the past, looking at my Instagram and doing some searching there. Look at Expedia to see, maybe what tour operators that they were offering up, as well as travel options. In this case, I used the Trailblazer publications for Hadrian's Wall Path and kind of looked at, how do people hike? And in this particular one was, you could do, a section or two sections. You could spend just a couple days or you could spend 8 or 9, 10 days, depending on how far you feel comfortable walking on a day-to-day basis, and how much time that you want to spend out on the trail in itself. And then in this trip, also I had to take into account some transfer services in order to get to the starting point and from the finishing points. So, as I've said before, I like to keep track of my travel plans and my highlights that I want to see, things above and beyond. So from my research, I'll find some places say, oh, I want to go here, I want to go there, and I'd really like to see that. So, again, I use an app called Wander Notes, and it really is helpful to me to have those points and help me get, as I'm going along to say, oh, I wanted to go here at this particular time or there. And sometimes not really thinking, geographically where everything is. By having the app, it puts it on the map, and then I can say, okay, this is along on this part of this day, or it's off the side of this one. So it is very helpful in keeping track of where did I want to go, what are the hours of operation, were there any costs to doing that. So this is what I like, this particular one of Wonderlog, and it really is helpful to me. So my decisions for this one was to go during the summer months, that I had about 7 days that I could do this in. And I wanted to use a tour service again that could prearrange accommodations and provide me with some maps or guidance as I was going along. My budget for this was about, there was two of us going, so about $2,600 was the total. And the transfers to the start point and end point were had to be coordinated by myself, as well as airplanes to get to there. So thinking about how I wanted to travel and the options and timings of flights and things, I needed to coordinate all of that, thinking about getting to point A, where the day where I would pick up and start my tour. Didn't really have any cautions on this trip, so it didn't have anything to look at there. And as part of that 7 day travel, that meant I needed to hike about 20 miles a day. A little long, but the days were long enough in the summer, so it really wasn't going to be a problem for me. So, through my research, I determined that Max Adventures was really the tour service for me. There are multiple services in this space, but as I did my research and looked at it, they look to have the best options for itineraries and for the direction of travel. You'll note if you do this hike that most people, it seems that most people kind of go from west to east, and I wanted to travel from east to west, and it just seemed like a better starting point for me and endpoints to go there. So I did plan on that 7 days. The service did provide bag transfers, so I could just use a day pack on my daily hikes. And they provided trail guides and maps and books, bag tags, as well as an applet from Max Adventure for the trip, and it broke it all down. And within there, I would also get notifications of things I was walking by, and it would give me pop-up notes to say what I was seeing as I'm walking by it. So that was really a nice add for it as well. And as I said, I needed to coordinate my transfers and flights for this. So I used a company called Get Transfers. They've worked for me all around the world. I've had great use, and they've been very flexible in the timing. I was able to book them in advance. But as you can see here, that the trip from coming into Heathrow, which had the best options for flights, was about a 5.5 hour flight drive from the airport to my starting point. And I could have used trains, I could have used buses. I opted for a transfer because it met the timing that I had for my flight. So it wasn't a lot of waiting around for a bus or a train. Getting to my starting point. So that worked out really well. Newcastle upon Tyne is really young. It's an old city, but it's a very young city. So it's very vibrant and busy and full of life and restaurants and things to see and do. So we took advantage of that pre-time to get there in advance and kind of take in some of the local flavor there in Newcastle on Tyne. At the end, when I was at Bonus on Solway, it was shorter to actually go from there to Glasgow, and we flew from Glasgow at the end of our trip. So again, I used the Get Transfers to pick us up at our endpoint, and they got us to seamlessly right to the airport on time, and we were able to make all of our flights and connections. I do like applets and ways to stay in touch with people while I'm traveling. And so again, I used Track My Tours here. It's free for a couple of uses. I use a paid subscription myself because I do maintain a number of trips, and then I share a private link with people, and we communicate inter-app, and they can follow me as I move along, and we can trade conversations as we're going through the travel. And at the end, you're able to print everything out, and you can make a book out of it with your pictures and notes and all the comments that people gave to you along the way. So it's a nice little bonus of using Track My Tours. And again, really enjoy the app and sharing it, and gives me something in the end to do to relive the travel afterwards. So in my days of travel, so we went from Newcastle on Tyne to Heading on the Wall, and then from there to Chalford, and then Once Brewed. And Once Brewed was a nice stop because that's where Sycamore Gap is at. So it's a nice stopping point right there. And then from there on to Lanercost. Now Lanercost was a little bit off of the trail, but it was a beautiful town, a little village to be in, and there's a really nice church and abbey right there in Lanercost, so it made it really nice. Very level walking in this part of the trail, so it was really good in that sense. And then from Lanercost, we went on to Carlisle, and Carlisle is really it's a major city, and all the services you can imagine that come with being in the city in itself. Some great restaurants. There we had some great. We went to an Italian restaurant here in Carlisle, and it was really good. The service was impeccable. Really enjoyed that. From there, once you get to Carlisle, you really are kind of flat on the flat part of this trail. And so the trip out to Bonus on Solway, not a lot of wall to see in this section, but I was really curious because I wanted to walk the entire thing from start to finish, and so we walked out it. So it was kind of level, but it went along really well. We had beautiful weather for the majority of the time. Our first day was soaking rain, but we weathered it and got to our first stop. But for the remainder of the trip, it really was, some overcast and some sun. So it was really nice hiking with a great breeze along the whole way. So it was perfect weather time. And again, we went in the summer months during July, so it was very good temperature. But it had been very rainy in the month before, so some of the trails were very, very muddy and wet in some places. But again, use something more of a waterproof shoe or hiking shoe. I use trail runners in here, waterproof trail runners, and they worked perfect for me. So my feet stayed dry the entire time. And then using some zip off pants for pant shorts and things like that. Definitely in that layers of hiking is the best way to do here. But it was a great trip all the way across the 84 miles of the trail in itself. Some kind of post-travel notes as I'm back. That Max Adventure Service really did a great job. We stayed at a number of bed and breakfast style lodgings where breakfasts were included. The bag transfers were seamless. Our bags showed up every time. The map applet was really nice. As I mentioned, it gave us notes along the way, told us what we were seeing, kind of on the trail off to the left and right. And so it was really nice to there and to see where you were and how you were progressing when you had a moment to look at the app. Again, the travel was extremely easy. The get transfers got us to right where we needed to be to start, and then picked us up on time and got us right to the airport there. Again, English speaking, so it was very easy to navigate, ask questions, get help, and the locals were very helpful. If you got off trail somehow, people would see you and kind of get you right back on the trail. Make sure to try the food. The food, I'm all about trying all the local cuisine and getting out there. As I said, we flew into Heathrow at the start, and then we flew out from Glasgow, which was perfect using British Airways. Noteworthy, sheep and cows every place. You're walking through, essentially 84 miles of countryside. So you're in and out. They avoid you. So there was no concern about danger or being with animals or anything like that. They saw you, they walked the opposite direction. Trekking poles, really helpful on the up and downs and as you're stepping from rock to rock in some places. So having the trekking poles was, I found to be, very helpful along the way. Nice day pack. This way you're able to kind of store your rain gear or your layers, change of socks, things like that you could just carry with you lightly each day. Having some food, some snacks, and a hydration pack was really helpful over the period of this 84-mile hike. They both came in very well. As I said, the weather can be, a little unpredictable. You can be in and out. The clouds are moving fast, so you could hit some rain and you could hit some sun. So having that day pack with some change of items that you can get in, get on some rain gear or poncho if you needed to. We did take some bag lunches from the services by the bed and breakfast. They did offer some bag lunches, so that was kind of nice. Wasn't a whole lot of stores nearby in a lot of the places, so having that lunch with you in the reserve, so you had something to eat out on the trail and just take a break and enjoy the scenery and have the lunch and know you didn't have to worry about getting it. So it was a nice service. It was provided for most all of the bed and breakfast. Be social, meet people on the trail. The innkeepers are really gracious hosts. Been doing it for a while, a number of them. Some of them are just starting, and they're just really, really great to meet and talk with them and get to know them and the people that are out there. So that is so if you like the content and the planning notes, please like and subscribe for My Way Journeys, and I appreciate your attendance at each of my YouTubes. And the next YouTube will be on the actual trip in itself, so you'll see how we progressed over the trip and talk about some of the great things that we did and saw along the way. So thank you, and see you again soon at our next video.